All right, what's up, my friends? This is it. This is the big part of the set review. We've been doing every single card so far in March of the Machine for constructed and limited, white, blue, black, red, green, multicolor, and colorless. But now is the time to do the brand new card type in Magic, Battles. And I had to make a totally different scene here to make this work, because obviously the flip cards. And I wasn't going to have you fine folks going like this the whole time. So I everything's flipped over for you. Everything's readable, and we're going to do it. Battle's a brand new card type, and we're going to go over it. We're looking at the first battle right now, I think. So we'll look at the first battle and go over what is a battle. Battle is a new card type. It's not an enchantment. It's not an artifact. It's a totally new card type. And when you play a battle, the current type of battle is a siege, as you can see here. There will probably be other types that you defend, but for a siege, you play it and basically give it to your opponent. And now your opponent has to defend this object from you. So you can now attack the battle or them, kind of like a planeswalker. There's really reverse planeswalkers, is a good way to think about it. So you play this card, they get it, you can attack it. And then the number in the bottom right corner you see down here is basically the loyalty. It's called the defense counters on it. Same thing as loyalty, like a planeswalker. So you attack it, and then you shrink it. When it hits 0, it dies, and then it flips. So it comes back to you, it gets exiled, and then you cast the back side of it for free. Note that you are casting it, though. So, for example, in this space, Invasion of Belnon. So you attack it. If you kill it, it turns into the Belnon War Anthem. It goes onto the stack as a free spell. Your opponent can counter it, and if not, it resolves. So basically, you give your opponent something to defend. If they can't defend it, then you get the bonus of getting it to flip over. So that's how battles work. For more in-depth rules and explanation, go somewhere else, I guess. I don't know. That's the best I can do for now. So these cards are very, very interesting because they give your opponent something to protect, and they might not be ready to protect it. So if I build a deck around Planeswalkers, I'm building my deck to protect my Planeswalkers. I'm building my deck in a manner where I know what I want to do, and I'm going to be planning on defending these things because that's my goal of my deck. You don't build your deck around your opponent's battles, so your opponent gets to play this battle, and now they've built their deck around this battle, but you now have to defend. Maybe you don't want to. Just super cool. So very interactive, very, very interesting. Face value, my initial impression is I like the mechanic a lot. Definitely a cool idea. The person who casts the battle still controls it. For example, you couldn't sacrifice the battle to like a Rite of Oblivion or something like that because it's not your thing. So you can't get rid of it that way. You can destroy them and target them. You can lightning bolt them. Just like a planeswalker. And then there are cards that say destroy a battle, or like a Vindicate can destroy it. But destroying a battle does not win the battle. It just gets rid of it. So your opponent gives you a battle, you can Vindicate it and get rid of it, and so on and so forth. So that is the long and short on battles. Now we're going to go through all of them. There are a lot of them in the set at Uncommon, Rare, and Mythic. They're going to be big players and limited, as well as big players and constructed. So let's hop right in and look at Invasion of Belnon. These are all templated like this. They are all Invasion of Location. A lot of them are planes you're familiar with, Ravnica, Zendikar, etc. Some were not, and I don't know what the hell Belnon is, or I don't know what this is, but whatever. So think about it for a battle siege. ATBs, it creates a 2/2 white and blue knight token vigilance. So very simple, 3/3, make it 2/2. I also want to state that I think it's really, really important when evaluating these battles that the front side is the most important part. Think of the front side like your main abilities on a Planeswalker, and think about the back side almost like an ultimate. Not exactly, but you can't rely on the back side, but you can rely on the front side. So how good's the front side? Is that good enough for me? And if I get the back side, it's a bonus. You can't rely on the back side because it's not going to be an easy thing to do, obviously. So this ETBs makes a 2/2 and then puts the battle in play. It has 5 loyalty. If you're able to damage it and kill it, it's going to flip over into Belnon War Anthem, which is a glorious anthem, helps your squad. So this one's pretty simple, honestly. So I start off with a simple one. You play it, you get a creature. If you attack this thing, you flip it over, now you get an anthem. It's important to note also that the opportunity cost here is that you are attacking the anthem and not them. So think about this sort of like they get to gain 5 life, but you get the anthem. It's up to you also, So for draft, this card seems pretty great, honestly. It's just a 2/2 for 3 with a ton of upside, which is great. For constructed, obviously not. This is pretty clearly a draft card, but a good idea of what the mechanic does, and so on and so forth. So there are many more exciting ones. We'll get to them as we go through here, but that's the explanation and the long and short of it. Next up is the Invasion of Dominaria. Another battle that costs 3. And a little more familiar playing here, obviously. This ETBs, and you gain 4 life and draw a card. It's not that exciting for 3 mana, honestly. And these all have ETB abilities where they kind of play out like sorceries. Some make tokens, but for the most part, they play out like a one-shot spell and then stay in play. So this thing gain 4 life and draw a card. Not very exciting for 3 mana, honestly. The front side's not very good here. 5 loyalty or whatever, 5 defense counters. But you go to the back side, and what do you get if you flip it? You get a Sarah Angel. So Sarah Faithkeeper, 4 for Flying Vigilance. Obviously very, very good. This is also a limited card. There's no way you're playing this card constructed. But in limited, I mean, a Sarah Angel is really, really good. Is it worth attacking your opponent for 5 damage? Yeah, if you can do it, I think. So I think this card's pretty good, but not the end-all be-all or anything like that. But I think this card's solid for sure. Good draft card. Attacking your opponent for attacking the battle for 5 damage is tough. Although there are also cards you can damage them directly, and then there are cards that care about attacking battles and stuff like that make it easier. So that's Invasion of Dominaria. Moving on to Invasion of Gabakan.
You're saying it wrong.
Never heard of that place before. 2 mana for a battle. When it ETBs, look at target opponent's hand. You may exile a non-land card from it. As long as the card's exiled, they can play it, but it costs 2 more. So this is just this Elite Spellbinder effect on a 2 mana battle, which is pretty cool actually, because we've never seen this effect before in a spell. You've only ever seen this on anointed, whatever it's called, and Spellbinder. So this thing is able to pay 2 mana, kind of pseudo Thoughtseize them, and get this card tempoed away. And then it only has 3 defense too. So this is a cheap battle with a good effect and the lower cost on that. Then we hop on over and look at it. If you flip it, we get a Light Shield Array, which is a enchantment. At the end of your end step, put a +1 counter on each creature of an attack this turn, and you can sacrifice it to give your team hexproof indestructible. I think this card is excellent. Did I? I did. Okay, yeah. I think this card's excellent. I think this card's really, really good. So for an aggro deck, this is kind of everything you want against a core controlling deck, right? You have this kind of like Thoughtseize effect on the front side. So you play this thing, give us cool kind of Thoughtseize effect, and then you attack it for only 3, which is not really that bad. You get a counter back on your creatures immediately. So say you attack with 2 creatures, you kill it, it flips, and now you get counters to get back the power that you lost attacking it. And it's also a sack effect to keep your stuff alive from removal spells and master will spells and everything like that. So I think this card's excellent. I think this card's really, really good. Honestly, close to best in show. But I think this card's excellent for any white aggressive deck in multiple formats, including old formats as well. Card's pretty exciting. It's very, very cool. Moving on to our next battle here is the Invasion of Theros. 3 mana for they'll cost 3. 3 mana for a battle with 4 defense. When an ETB, search your library for an aura, a god, or a demigod. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So very, very narrow. And one of the things, too, is that a lot of these are all different kinds of effects you'd see in Magic on sorceries, but not all of them are in decks that you would want to be attacking with. So, for example, there's a ramp one that, like, gets lands, but, like, usually your ramp decks don't attack aggressively. So, like, do you really need this? So this one's kind of like that, where, you know, you get an aura, a god, or a demigod. So it tutors for a card, does not make any board presence to attack with, which is awkward. And now you tutor for this aura, god, or demigod, which is a very, very narrow subset of cards, and then has 4 toughness. If you're able to attack it and kill it, you flip it over and you get Afara Ever Sheltering, which is a 4/4 god. It has lifelink and indestructible as long as you control it through their enchantments. Whenever an enchantment ETBs in your control, you draw a card. Very, very powerful card to flip into. All right, 4/4, indestructible, lifelink, enchanters that can draw cards. The problem is, are you able to attack this thing? Because you are playing an enchantment deck. Now, or aura, god, demigod, and so on. There is an enchantment deck in standard, and the Heliod god enchantment cards would be good in that deck also. So this card can go find that in theory, and then if you flip it, it's really, really good also. And the fact that this is blue in the back means nothing. It's just like for flavor reasons or whatever. So it could be played in a mono white deck or green white deck. Card seems interesting because the backside is really, really good. But again, the fear here is that you can't evaluate these on the backside because you're not guaranteed to get there. And the front side is kind of only eh. So moving on. Invasion of Arcavius. Rare, 5 mana, 7 defense. This is a very expensive, very, very chunky battle. When it ETBs, search your library, graveyard, and or outside the game for an instant or sorcery card you own, reveal it, put it in your hand. If you do, search, sway, and shuffle. So we have 5 mana for tutoring a card from your sideboard, or your library, or your graveyard. So you can get anything. But the problem, of course, is this is a 5 mana tutor with a 7 toughness defense here. What deck is playing a 5 mana tutor that can deal 7 damage to this thing and need to do that? So what do we get for doing all this? That's a huge, huge task. 5 mana, don't affect the board, go tutor. I deal 7 damage to this thing. So what happens if I do this? We get Invocation of the Founders. You know, Odo and friends, right? No one? The minion? Someone? If you cast an instant sorcery card from your hand, you may copy the spell. You may choose new targets of the copy. Pretty powerful enchantment. You get to copy all your spells, but this is like so difficult to pull off. I think this card is very bad. Very, very expensive. Very, very difficult to use. Yeah. You can play New Chandra instead and do the exact same thing and do bitter. So, pretty bad one. Not very exciting. Hop back over to the Invasion of Kamigawa. Obviously, a very popular plane. This one has 4 toughness or loyalty or whatever. Costs 4 mana. When it ETBs, tap a creature an opponent controls, artifact a creature, and then stun it. So, it taps it. And then it flips over into Rooftop Saboteurs, a 2/3 flying creature. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or battle, draw a card. So this is definitely a draft card. But honestly, this one makes a lot of sense because even though it doesn't seem that powerful, this one makes sense contextually because if you're an aggressive deck, this taps a blocker, lets you get in and attack it, and you can do this all in one shot. You know, I have 2/2s in play. You have a 3/3. I cast Invasion of Kamigawa, tap your 3/3, get it for 4, attack the thing, flip it over, and now I have this awesome 2/3 flyer that can deal damage and draw cards and stuff too. So this is a really good tempo card in Limited. Constructed, I doubt it, but in Limited, super, super cool card. There's also the funness here of it is a ninja too, so if you ninja this back to your hand, you can cast it again, which is kind of cool. But yeah, super cool card. Very, very clean, very, very simple. And again, this is a battle that, you gotta lay out all the battles on a spectrum. The ones that are over here are the ones that are played in aggro decks, where like it's gonna be really, really easy to flip it over. And the ones over here are like that last one, where it's going to be played in decks that aren't aggroing and it's going to be really, really hard to flip. This one's definitely on this end of the spectrum for sure. So, moving on. We have the Invasion of Segova. Maybe. 3 mana for a rare 4 defense siege. When it ETBs, make 2 1/1 blue Kraken tokens to trample. So this is 3 mana, make 2 1/1s, which is not great, but okay. And it's also cool because any one of these that makes tokens or creatures, you're adding to the board, and you can actually use them to attack the battle, which is important. So that's pretty cool. And the backside is the Sea Tyrant of Segovia, which is a 3/3 legendary serpent. Non-creature spells you cast have Convoke. Beginning of your end step, untap up to 4 target creatures. So kind of a weird, like, not that good card. But I think that because this thing is making tokens, and it's good with Convoke anyway on the front side, and then the backside is not the best thing of all time, but it's easy to access, which I think is important. So I think this one's actually pretty good, honestly. 3 mana, a little clunky, but kind of a cool one. I think this card's better than it looks for sure. This is definitely a good draft card. Constructed, probably not. But I think that this is definitely a pretty interesting limited card for sure, because the blue-red mechanic in Limited is all about convoking and making tokens and stuff like that. So that's that one. Moving on to the Invasion of Varin. This is Jace's home plane. 4 mana for it, uncommon, 4 defense, siege. When it ETBs, draw 3, discard 1. So Sift. So Sift is like, a mildly playable card. It's a sorcery, draw 3, discard 1. At instant speed, it's like pretty good and Limited. At sorcery speed, it's not that good. It's like fine. It's not bad, but it's not great. But again, you're getting a lot of the value front loaded here because that's pretty close to playable anyway. And then 4 defense, flip it over, and we get to a overloaded Mage Ring, which is an artifact. You pay 1 and sack it just to copy a spell you control, which is pretty cool actually. Honestly, like that's not an amazingly overpowered effect. It's just simple. So I have a kill spell, now I can copy it. Cool, that's pretty sweet. So definitely a draft oriented battle, but a cool one and one that's pretty good. Good card draw. You can also copy your permanents too. So you can copy a creature, just value, just a lot of value on the front and the back side, which is pretty cool. You got to attack them too though, but that's pretty cool. Up next is everyone's favorite plane, Eldraine. Invasion of Eldraine is an uncommon. It is a 4 mana, 4 defense battle. ETB, Mind Rot. They discard 2 cards. So for 4 mana, a Mind Rot is not particularly exciting. But Mind Rot with extra value on it is a little better, obviously. And it flips over into the Prickle Fairies, which is a 2/2 flyer for free, obviously, I guess. Sorry. Maybe each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 2 or fewer cards in hand, this deals 2 damage to them. So this one is super light, but realistically, once again, we have, Mind Rot for 4 is not good, but not that bad. And now if we just get a free 2/2, it's also kind of cool. But they gain 4 life too. So very, very limited focus. It's not a very powerful card, but it's fine. A lot of value for sure. Definitely interesting. And then, are you attacking them well enough to get this creature? Creature's kind of cool. It's cool. It's a fine draft card. There are a lot of battles in the set too. So these battles are going to be a huge part of the draft format with cards like this. This is obviously never going to see play constructed, but in limited, this is certainly a fine card. Up next is Invasion of Fiora. 6 mana battle, 4 defense. When ETBs choose one, destroy one or both. Destroy all legendary creatures, destroy all non-legendary creatures, or both. So this one's a weird one because this is the exact opposite of one of the token makers, where it's a wrath. In theory, you could have legends in play, kill their non-legends, and attack them, which would be pretty cool. But probably not going to work out exactly like that, honestly. And 6 is a lot of mana. And if you're able to flip it over, you get the Marchesa Resolute Monarch, which is a 3/6 Menace Death Touch, decent sized body. Whenever it attacks, remove all counters up to 1 target permanent. That will kill a battle. If you destroy a battle directly, you do not get the effect, but removing the counters in battle counts as winning the battle. So that one you are able to get, which is interesting. So you can use it to win other battles. But if your upkeep, if you haven't been dealt combat damage since your last turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Pretty powerful card, honestly. I can see this card being staying play for sure. It's a Wrath effect that has a pretty good creature in the back. And it has a bit of flexibility also with legendary and non-legendary. I think that when I first read this card, I read it as choose one, not both. And it made it kind of weird because, give this Wrath, it might not kill everything. But the fact that it's one or both is actually pretty good. And then the backset's pretty good too. Yeah, it's pretty good, honestly. This is definitely a pretty good one. I think I underestimated it because I missed the one or both text on that, but card's good. Up next, Invasion of Innistrad, everyone's favorite plane. We've got a 4 mana, 5 defense flash battle. So basically an instant. On ETBs, target gets -13, -13. So it's basically a 4 mana removal spell that puts a battle into play with 5 defense. And that's obviously very good because if you're playing creatures, you get to kill their creature and then attack the battle immediately, which is excellent. So the play pattern on this battle is very, very good. Play it, kill a thing, attack it immediately. But it does have 5 loyalty, toughness, defense, whatever. And if you're able to kill it, it flips over into Deluge of the Dead, which is an enchantment. When this ETBs, you make 2 zombies, pay 3 mana, exile a card from the graveyard. If it's a creature, make a zombie. So pretty good card, honestly, because we have this card that so you can kill a thing, attack it immediately. They gain 5 life, essentially. But you get 2 zombies back, and then this enchantment in play, we can exile cards to the graveyard and make more zombies, which is pretty cool. So I think this card's pretty good, honestly. I think this is one of the better ones, honestly. Does a lot of good things. It's efficient enough as far as killing something and then getting a lot of value also. So, yeah, seems sweet. Pretty good one. Up next is Invasion of Olgrotha. Sure. 5 mana for a uncommon siege with 5 defense. When it ETBs, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. So a 5 mana.
Oh, it's Lightning Helix! Oh my god!
And it can't target itself, right? ETBs, 3 damage to any target. Oh, any other target. Got it. It could if it was templated like that. So any other target, gain 3 life. So again, we have a 5 mana removal spell that can push through your damage and gain some life, which is cool. 5 defense, and when you flip the bad boy over, what do you get? You get Grandmother Ravi Senger. 3/3 flying. Whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, put a counter on it, and you gain 1 life. So it's very similar to Senger Vampire. So This feels like, again, this is obviously a limited power level battle, but one's pretty good, honestly. It's a removal spell. You get a creature off it also. Not world breaking by any means, but very solid card. I think this card's pretty good limited. Removal spell, gain a little life, attack it. It's pretty good. Good draft card. Up next is the Invasion of Kaldheim. 4-mana battle, 4 defense. When it ETBs, exile all the cards from your hand, then draw that many cards. Till the end of your next turn, you may play cards exiled this way. It's a pretty weird card. You play it, your hand, you kind of like Memory Jar, your hand goes away, you get a new hand, and then you can play these cards at the end of your next turn. And the card, I'm sorry, it's not Memory Jar, because the card's going forever. I apologize. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from your hand, and then draw many cards. Until the end of your turn, you may play those cards. So those cards go away, and you get this new hand of cards to play. You got to play them within the next turn cycle. And then, if you're able to attack and kill this battle, you get Pyre of the World Tree, which is an enchantment where you can discard a land to deal 2 damage to any target, so Seismic Assault. Whenever you discard a land card, exile top card of your library, you may play the card this turn. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. There's so many freaking words in these cards. They're so hard to parse. I apologize. Let's start over this one. When this enters the battlefield, exile all cards from your hand. Then draw that many cards. Until the end of your next turn. Okay, right. I had it backwards. I apologize. I'm sorry. So you can play the cards you exiled from your hand until the next turn. And then you draw a new hand. I apologize. So as long as you can play the cards that are in your hand, this is just like a draw 4 or whatever, which is pretty cool. And then you go over to the backside, Seismic Assault, and whenever you discard a land card, exile top card in your library, you can play that card this turn. It's pretty cool because you turn your lands into spells, but it doesn't perpetuate. You can't keep drawing, lands, so on and so forth. This card is very, very bizarre, but also seems pretty good. Plays well with like Right and 7 as far as drawing a lot of lands. Slogurk maybe, ways to just put lands in your hand for like the Seismic Assault effect. The problem, of course, is attacking it, because this is the kind of card that is not going to play in an aggro deck. So where do you find the time to attack with this thing? So cool card, very, very odd, hard to parse. I couldn't even read it right. But yeah, definitely a weird one. Up next, the Invasion of Karsus. 4-mana rare siege, 4 defense. When it ETBs, 3 damage each creature, each planeswalker. So a slightly worse Brotherhood's End, but still, obviously, it's not a bad effect at all. And then if you're able to flip it over, you get Refraction Elemental, which is a 4/4 with Ward 2. Whenever you cast a spell, any spell, 2 damage to each opponent, which is obviously very, very powerful. So kind of a cool sweeper. Again, we have the issue of like, well, if I'm wrathing, how am I attacking this? But this can be really, really good in like a red-green, like kind of stompy deck where you're, or pay 2 life, I apologize. Where you're like playing a 4/4, casting this card, get rid of the blockers, and attacking it immediately, and then getting the elemental. So this card's got a lot of power behind it if you build around it properly. And then once you flip it, 4/4 that just nugs them for 2 over and over again is also pretty excellent. So could see this in like a more controlling deck. Could see this in like a red-green kind of like stompy deck with big creatures. Card's pretty good, honestly. I think this card's pretty solid. Up next is the Invasion of Mercadia. It's meant for a battle with 4 toughness. It's very, very cheap. And this is a ETB, discard a card. If you do, draw 2. So we've seen this back before on Bitter Reunion and stuff like that. And honestly, better than it looks when you have something else going on with it. And this one does, obviously, because it's a battle. So very cheap, 4 loyalty, discard a card, draw 2 cards. If you're able to attack it for 4, you flip it over into a Chiron Flamewright. And, did I screw up? I did screw up, sorry. Sleeper card! Sorry, with the different scenes, this has been tough, I apologize. The Flamewright. It's a 3/3, pay 3, discard a card, make 2 tokens, and you pumps the team. Most important thing here is this is just a really, really fine card on the front side. Like, 2 mana for discard 1, draw 2 with value is awesome. And then when you go to the backside, you just get this 3/3 like for extra value. Like, it just, all right, cool. I get a 3/3. What does it do? I don't really care, honestly. It just gets 3/3. And that's good. The fact that it does things is also great too. But the cheapness here is the important part. Very, very easy to play and just going to get in. Card's sweet. I like it. Card's pretty cool. Sleeper card for the set for this segment, and yeah. Moving on. Invasion of Regatha. 2 mana for a 5 defense battle. When it ETBs, deals 4 damage to a battle or opponent, and then 1 damage to a creature. So obviously a limited card for sure. Going to be very good in limited though, because obviously we are discussing how important these battles are going to be. So ETB, kill your opponent's battle, or I'm sorry, win a battle, and then maybe kill a creature also, which would be great. Or just nug them for 4, which is fine as well. And then if you're able to flip this thing over, you get to turn into Disciples of the Inferno, which is a 4/4 with prowess, which is awesome. The non-creature source you control deal damage to a creature, battle, or opponent, does damage plus 2. So again, the kind of card where you're getting value in the front, and then it just flips over at some point during the game, and now you get value in the back also. Another great limited battle. Seems very, very good. Next up is Invasion of Tarkir. Another cheap battle, 2 mana for a 5 defense battle. When this ETBs, reveal any number of dragon cards from your hand. When you do, this deals X plus 2 damage to any target, where X is the number of dragons revealed this way. This card's very, very good. 2 mana to shock. That's the baseline. And we already know from Bone Crusher Giant that it's very, very good. It's obviously a sorcery speed, and then it's also going to be played in the color and at the cheapness of the one that is able to be aggressive and can attack it. So we can play this in our mono red deck, play a creature on 1, attack, play this, shock something, attack, and so on and so forth. So flipping this one seems pretty easy. And the front side, 2 mana for a shock with upside, we already know it's pretty good. So we hop on over, and what's in the back? Frickin' Defiant Thundermaw. 4/4 flying trample. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, deals 2 damage to any target. Obviously, it counts itself also. You don't need to have other dragons in play. But that's awesome. So the front side of this is worse than Bone Crusher, because it's sorcery speed for a shock. The back side is much better. We have a 4/4 flying trample with great ability. Very, very excellent, powerful thing. And then also, this is all in a vacuum. This is all absent any other dragons at all. If you add more dragons into the equation, now we have maybe 3 damage or 4 damage on the front side. And now our backside might do damage immediately, right? So we have a dragon already in play. Flip this thing over and then attack, which I guess you can't do that because you need to attack already, but you could bolt it or whatever. I don't know. But point is, this card's very, very good. Don't think of this as a dragon enabler card. Think of this as Bone Crusher Giant, and the dragon stuff is just a bonus. But this card's excellent. Best in show, I think, for battles. I'm probably super wrong on this because it's a brand new card type, and frankly, it's a lot to take in. But we'll find out soon enough, because that's my best in show for the battles of March of the Machine. On to green. The Invasion of Ikoria. Green X, battle 6 defense, which is a lot. When an ETB, search the library or graveyard for a non-human creature card with mana value X or less, and put it onto the battlefield. If you search this way, shuffle. This is a expensive Green Sun Zenith kind of effect. Does search for graveyards. Also, it only gets non-humans though. So very mana inefficient, right? 4 mana to get a 2/2, or to get a 2-drop, and so on and so forth. Not super exciting. 6 defense is also a pretty good amount. So front side, not very exciting. What's the back side get us?
Good lord. Gigantism.
8/8. Zalortha or whatever. Dinosaur Legend Reach. For each non-human creature you control, you may have that creature assign its damage though it wasn't blocked. So just a huge chonk and chonker. 8/8 makes it so you can just kind of get through it as if the blockers weren't there. And then of course you have the 8/8 as well. So you can't play this just for 0 and just like play it and attack it and try and get this 8/8. Seems pretty bad though. In older formats, you can get Vampire Hexmage and then just make this into a 8/8. That's kind of cute also, but I don't think that's really good enough for older formats. But yeah, this card just seems pretty middling, honestly. The 8/8's fine, not very exciting. 6 damage, 6 defense is a lot. And this is a card where the best part is the backside, not the front side. I think it's not a good feature for battles. It's very, very important to have the front side being the most important part. We got to the Invasion of Ixalan. 2 mana battle, which is obviously a good place to be. Only 4 defense. When it ETBs, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a permanent card from among them, put it in your hand. Rest go on the bottom. So we have sort of a ponder effect. 2 mana, ETB, go find a card. This one is 4 defense and pretty cheap. So not too hard to attack. And that means it's probably pretty easy to flip. Kind of good mid-range decks. You can go find your good mid-range cards or whatever it might be. And what do you get when you flip it? You get a Belligerent Regisaur, which is a 4/3 trample. Whenever you cast a spell, this becomes indestructible at the end of turn. This one's solid. The rate here is very, very good. It is cheap. It is pretty easy to flip because it's so cheap. It's card advantage on the front side, and then on the back side we get a good sized creature. It doesn't need to be a 10/10. A 4/3 is totally fine with a good ability as well. Play a spell, indestructible. Like this card a lot. It doesn't necessarily go in like a pure aggro deck because spending 2 mana to draw a card is not great. But in like kind of a more mid-range stompy deck, that's pretty sick, honestly. So card seems quite good. I like this one a lot. Invasion of Ixalan. Where are we going next? We're going to Mergantha. Merganda.
You're saying it wrong.
Something. 5 mana for a 6 defense saga battle. This is a uncommon, so more of a limited card probably. When it ETBs, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. Then the creature fights a creature you don't control. So this is a 5 mana hunt the week. This is typically a limited card, usually a common that's kind of okay. 1 mana up on it, but it's important to note that because of that, it's a removal spell that pumps your creature and makes it easier to attack. Therefore, it's easier to get in and get the damage through and then get that 6 damage done. So once 6 damage is done, what do you get? You get Primordial Plasm. 4/4. Being in combat your turn, another creature gets +2/+2 and loses all abilities till end of turn, which is honestly fine. So I think this one's pretty good. I think this one is going to play a lot better than it looks in Limited because even though it's a little expensive for a removal spell, it's a removal spell that's also a 4/4, which is great. Think of it like an FTK, kind of like Ravage Super Combo kind of card, I think this card's great. It's pretty splashable. Probably want to be in green to have the sizing on the creatures, but I think this card's a lot better than it looks, honestly. Shanlar, that was a video game, right? Invasion of Shanlar, 5 mana, 4 defense. When it ETBs, return 3 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So, this one is the exact opposite of the last card. This one is a expensive battle that does not progress your board at all or make it easier to attack. And that's a no-no for me, I think. 5 mana triple regrowth is not particularly exciting and not a thing you'd ever play in your aggressive deck or a deck that wants to attack pretty easily. So it's failing on the battlefront for so far, then also failing on the spell front. It's just not a very good effect. And then it becomes the Leyline Surge. Then if you're upkeep, you put a permanent card from your hand on the battlefield. Yeah, I mean, that's cute and all, but looks pretty hard to flip. It is not a 5 mana draw 3, because you need to have cards you actually want in your graveyard already. And, that's if you don't have 3, you can't do anything with it too. So, very slow, very clunky, very crappy. Not a fan. How about Zendikar? This is actually the first battle we ever saw, and it's kind of a weird one. 4 mana for a 3 defense battle. ETB, Explosive Vegetation. Search library for 2 basic land cards, put them in tap, then shuffle. So, not an effect you'd usually see in an attacking deck, right? But also, I won the Players' Championship playing Vegetation in my standard deck. Like, that card's fine. Just 4 mana gets you lands. If you're playing a ramp deck, it's a very, very reasonable effect. And then you just have this battle half on the other side that's like, just a bonus. If you hit it, cool. If you don't, whatever. If you're playing a rat deck, it's totally reasonable. So, that's pretty good. And what do you get when you flip it? Only has three defense also. So, you get an Awakened Skyclave, which is a 4/4 Vigilance Haste, as long as this is on the battlefield. It's also a land, which is kind of weird. And then taps for mana of any color. The mana part, the land part doesn't matter that much, but a 4/4 Vigilance Haste is super solid. So we just get this like free 4/4 from our ramp spell. That's awesome. Big fan of this card. Like this card a lot. There are also a lot of really good things to ramp into in this format, so looks pretty exciting. Up next, the Invasion of Alara. Wooburg, 7 defense. It's a lot. When it ETBs, cascade twice, basically. Exile 2 cards from your top of your library, mana value 4 or less. You can cast one of them, and then one of them goes to your hand. So play this, cascade twice, cast 1, put 1 to your hand. So it's a +2. It draws 2 effectively, and then gives you 4 mana at most. That is that's not bad. but it's also not really great because there's a lot of variance there also. And then, you know, say you hit drag the bottom and like some other good card. Cool. That's like the ideal scenario. But what if you hit like a Braid and a Fable the Mirror Breaker, you know? Like it's like not really that exciting for the huge trouble of like playing this Wooburg card. And then most Wooburg decks just aren't very good at attacking. And 7 defense is an absurd amount of defense. So what do you get for all that trouble? Well, you get a trap card. As if I didn't make that clear enough already. The effect is very good. Awaken the Maelstrom is all colors. Basically, Cruel Ultimatum. This is a play of a spell, draw 2. You can put an artifact into play for free, which is very bizarre. Make a token that's a copy of a permanent you control, put 3 counters everywhere, and then draw something. Kill anything. So the backside here is good, don't get me wrong. This is kind of Cruel Ultimatum-esque. Get to draw some cards, you get to kill some things, do some stuff. But actually hitting this from 7 defense is going to be very, very difficult. Not a thing you want to do in the ramp deck really at all. So I think this card's a trap. I'm a big fan of Wooburg cards too. I think there's a lot of good Wooburg cards printed lately, and they're all very playable. But this one, 7's too much. The front side's not good enough, and 7's too much, and I'm just not really about this one. How about Amonkhet? Want to go to Amonkhet? 3 mana for a uncommon 4 defense saga. Siege, sorry. When ETBs, each player mills 3. Then each opponent discards a card, and you draw a card. So, similar to Disinformation Campaign. So, you know, 3 mana, they lose a card, you get a card. The mill part's the important part here, because the blue-black mechanic in Draft is all about each player milling, and kind of like getting cards in the graveyard, and so on and so forth. So, this plays well there. You know, 3 mana, synergy stuff, they lose a card, you get a card, all pretty cool. It has 4 defense. You're able to attack it and flip it over. What do you get? You get It's not a trap. Stop it, Akbar. What are you doing? You're ruining my TV show. Laztop Convert. 4/4. You may have it ETB as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard, except it's a 4/4 and a zombie. Pretty cool, honestly. Obviously, the flavor of Scarab God, like reanimating, which is kind of cool. But that's just a pretty good effect also. So this card seems good in Draft, honestly. It's got, you know, a little bit of value. Maybe it sits there and just hangs out and you attack it later, which is fine. But definitely a cool draft card, I think. Similar to the vein of the Vegetation card in that, like, it's good enough by itself. And then the backside's a bonus, which is pretty good too. In Constructed, no, it's not good enough. But in Draft, I think this card's pretty cool. So Amonkhet's been invaded. Next invasion is going to be Asgol. So many deep cut planes. I don't know what any of these planes are, you know? This is a Rakdos 2 mana battle as 4 defense. ETB, target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker loses 1 life. So 2 mana Edict is like, it's not great, but it's fine. You know, we've seen the black Trial Edict see play in older formats as well. So, you know, we're not exactly there on rate, but I mean, it's close. And it's also, as we said earlier, doing the thing where it's making it easier to attack, which is great. 4 defense, you attack it, and what do you get? You get an Ashen Reaper. 2/1 menace. Beginning of your end step, put a counter on this if a permanent card was put into a graveyard from battlefield this turn. So, pretty easy for it to be a 3/2, because you play this, the creature dies, attack it, flip it, put a counter on it, say go. So, this card's good, honestly. You know, the front side's good here. Very, very reasonable rate on the front side, pretty easy to attack. Obviously, the only problem we're seeing here is, you know, that they're gaining 4 life in theory when you attack it. But all in all, it's pretty good, honestly, not too shabby. Up next is the Invasion of Urgamen. I had no idea there were so many planes. I just had no idea, not even a clue. Red green, so another 2 mana battle here. 5 defense. When this ETBs, make a treasure, then discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Make a treasure, discard a card, and draw. So, definitely a pretty good, like, sum of its parts kind of card. We've got 2 mana, make a treasure, which is obviously fine. And then we have a little bit of a looting effect also. Put cards in the graveyard, which is pretty cool. So kind of a unique effect. I haven't really seen this effect before ever in red-green, which is kind of cool. So, like, as a sorcery by itself, I don't know if it would be good enough, but it's definitely interesting. And then we hop on over to 5 defense being defeated into the Trunga Cliff Charger, which is a 3/4 trample. When it ETBs, you may discard a card. If you do, search library for a land or battle card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Pretty cool, honestly. Feels like almost like a signpost uncommon for Gruul. So you get to just get another battle, get the train going here. Good draft card for sure. I think there's like a really, really outside shot that the front side would be good enough and constructed. But I think that in limited, this card seems great. So seems really, really, really solid. How about Kaladesh? Want to go to Kaladesh? Another 2-mana Saga. I keep saying Saga, sorry. Another 2-mana battle. 4 defense. When it ETBs, you make a 1/1 flying Thopter token. So 2 mana for 1 Thopter, and then the card in play that you can attack with 4 defense, which is pretty good, honestly. So it makes it easy to attack, and so on and so forth. And what do you get when you attack it? Aetherwing, Golden Scale Flagship. This is a flying star 4 with power for the number of artifacts you control, which is pretty good. And I'm sorry, this is a vehicle, not a creature. It's a vehicle with crew 1, and obviously the 1/1 can crew it, which is kind of cool also. So again, another good draft card, pretty solid, easy to cast, pretty good if you flip it. Yeah, just solid, certainly fine. Yeah, good draft card. How about Kylum? Invasion of Kylum. Boros, uncommon, 5 defense. When it ETBs, 2 creatures each get +2/+0 in vigilance and haste on a turn. So again, makes it easier to attack it, which is kind of cool. So not really worth 4 mana, but it does make it easier to attack this. So there's some value in like the backside's easier to achieve. And when you get the backside, you get Valor Reach's Tag Team, which is a sorcery. It makes 2 3/2 red-white warrior tokens with one of this creature and at least one other creature attack. Put a counter on this creature. Wow. That's pretty good, actually. So they're actually 4/3. And they can play defense also. So this is the interesting battle where the backside is better than the front side. But the front side helps you get there. So I think it's worth it. So I would say this is a pretty good draft card. That'd be my impression. Not sure, but Lorwyn. Everyone loves Lorwyn. 6 mana. Siege Golgari. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-elf creature an opponent controls with power X or less, where X is the number of lands you control. So very expensive, definitely for limited only. 6 mana, most likely kill something, and has 5 defense. So once again, we have a spot where it's a battle that kills something, it makes it easier to attack, which is very, very good. We like that part a lot. And we hop on over and flip it over to Winnowing Forces, which is just a star for the number of lands you control, which could be a 6/6. This card is much better than it looks in limited. Chat's saying worst battle in chat. No, this is an excellent limited card. 6 mana, kill your thing, and then be able to, and then that's just like fine. And if you're able to attack it, you get a 6/6. That's awesome. So great draft card, only for draft. It's not a constructor card at all, but very, very solid draft card. Looks excellent. The Invasion of Moog. I am Worf, son of Moog. Selesnya, 4 mana, uncommon, 5 defense. When it ETBs, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Again, same idea. Makes it easy to push damage through, which is nice. I like that a lot. Really, really cool. And what do you get when you flip it? Bloom Wielder Dryads. 3/3, Ward 2. Beginning of your end step, put a counter on a creature you control. This card's great. I think you need to be aggressive, and you want to care about the counters on your creatures. But Green-White does that. That's definitely one of the major important part of it. But easy to do. Get the attack on, and then it flips over to a very, very good creature. Like it. That one's pretty good. How about Nuka Penna? Orzhov, 2 mana, battle for 4 defense. When it ETBs, you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. When you do, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls. So we have 1/2 of the card that flashes back. It's really good. I can't think of any right now. Powerful effect for sure, because this kills anything. If you're playing fodder, you're playing tokens, etc., and so on and so forth. This is pretty good. It can kill that. Right Oblivion, thank you. And this has 4 defense. Again, you can kind of kill a thing to get through, which is nice. And then if you flip it over, you get Holy Frazzle Cannon. All right, sure. Equipment. Whenever equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. Equip 1. It's okay. It's like fine. You know, it doesn't actually do that much. And there isn't really a lot of tribal stuff going on either. Like knights and stuff, I guess, but I guess Phyrexians and so on. It's funny because the black white mechanic is the Phyrexian things, and like this is a non-Phyrexian card, but it's good with the Phyrexian things, but whatever. Seems okay. You know, it's kind of a weird card. Is like Rite of Oblivion's very good at constructing because you can build your deck around the sacrifice part. In limited, it's gonna be hard to build around that, but still pretty good. And the equipment itself, like, is not good enough for constructed really. So I guess if you're playing this with like token makers like Wedding Announcement and Skrelv's Hive, you're going to have extra tokens to sacrifice and then have an army of the same typed things, but still think this card's kind of eh. So not really excited about that one. It's kind of whatever. But what if we take the fight to them though? What if we invade New Phyrexia? Let's go. Blue, white, X, 6 defense. It's a lot. This is a mythic. When ETBs, make X 2/2 white and blue knight tokens with vigilance. And I think this card is very good. So for 3 mana, get a 2/2, not great. 4 mana 2/2/2s, not bad. 5 mana 3/2/2s, not bad. And the thing about the 5 mana thing is, if you play it for 5 mana, you get 6 power on the board. If nothing else happens, that can attack and flip it the next turn, which is pretty powerful. And you're probably already playing this in a deck full of creatures to attack with it anyway. So that's awesome. You can play X as 0 also. So you can just like play this with on a board that has 6 power in it and just slam, which is kind of cool too. And then it scales well. You know, on turn 8, I'm flooded. I have 10 lands in play. Whoop! There's a bunch of creatures. So that's pretty good. And it turns into a Planeswalker. Everyone's favorite Teferi. 4 loyalty, +1 draw 2, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card, which is fine. You know, most decks playing this are not going to want to put creature cards in the graveyard, really, and you're going to want to keep your spells, but still pretty good. -2, most importantly, is you get an emblem. With knights you control, get +1/+0 and ward 1, so play this very well at the front, obviously. And the -3 is tap X creatures you control, and when you do, you can shuffle a non-land permanent into an opponent's library of mana value extra less. So tap 3 things, hit their 3-drop, shuffle it in. As a card by itself, this Teferi is pretty iffy. It's not great. But this is not a card by itself. Just like Lovestruck Beast or whatever, neither half is good enough by itself. But when you add it together to the fact that you're playing it alongside this other card that makes tokens or whatever, this is pretty sweet, honestly. This is a pretty powerful card, a pretty powerful effect. This is not a Planeswalker you just play in your control deck and sit there until you fall asleep. This is an aggressive Planeswalker, which is kind of cool to see. And yeah, just good card. Seems great. No ward, just very good. Next card's excellent. Moving on to Invasion of Pyrula. Like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like the set makes me feel out of the loop. Like, there's so many deep cut plane names that I'm like, should I even care about these? I don't even know what these are, you know? Simic, 2 mana, Siege, uncommon, 4 defense. When ETB, scry 3. Then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land or a double-faced card, draw a card. So, cantrip for the most part. And then the blue-green draft mechanic is all about transform cards, which is kind of cool. And you're very likely to draw a card off this. Scry 3, and get a land or a double-faced card, which is pretty sweet. So, 2 mana, cantrip, scry 3 is not crazy at all. Attack it for 4, which is not that bad either. And what do you get? You get a Gargantuan Slabhorn, which is a 4/4 trample, ward 2, and it gives your other transform permanents ward 2 as well. That's good. This is just a good card in drafts. Like, 2 mana, scry, do a little whatever. At some point, if you can, attack it, get a 4/4, awesome. The cards that you the backs of these cards are solid also because you might need to make an aggressive attack to flip it. But once you do, you get an untapped creature to block with also. So you kind of like get a blocker back out of your exchange, which is kind of cool too. So great draft card. Seems very, very good. Invasion of Tolvanda. Sure. 5 mana Orzhov, rare, 5 defense. When ATPs, return a target non-battle permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So 5 mana, zombify, or bring anything back and be a planeswalker or whatever else, which is, you know, a decent, if unexciting effect. Has 5 defense. If you're able to flip it over, you get the Broken Sky, which is a pretty cool name. Creature tokens you control, plus almost so until end of lifelink. Beginning of your end step, make a creature token with flying. Strange. Very discongruent card here, because if you're reanimating stuff, you don't usually care about tokens and small creatures. And if you are caring about small tokens and creatures, you don't really care about reanimating stuff. So, weird card. Obviously good in limited, because it's just fine, I think. But for constructed, this card just seems too discongruent to really make a lot of sense. Yeah, the backside's good. Don't get me wrong. The Broken Sky is a pretty awesome, thing, but it seems a little pricey, honestly. Invasion of Xerix. Azorius Battle, uncommon, 4 defense. When it ETBs, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. So we have the another one of these where you play it, you can remove a blocker and try and get in and attack it. So it's very easy to flip. Vertex Paladin is the flip on the other side. It is a flying star, and the power and toughness is equal to the number of creatures you control, which is pretty good, honestly, in limited. It's obviously going to be a 3/3 or 4/4 fairly often. So it's cool, honestly. Definitely a pretty reasonable card here. It is a lot for an unsummon, but again, the point is that you're unsummoning and then able to flip it immediately, hopefully. So, seems fine. It's solid, if unexciting. Invasion of Ravnica. Everyone's favorite plane. From all these no-name planes to one of everyone's favorite plane. 5 mana, colorless siege, 4 defense. When ETBs, exile target non-land permanent that an opponent controls, it isn't exactly 2 colors. So most of the time, 5 mana kill anything, which is pretty good. And once again, kills a thing, easy to attack. What do you get? Guild Pact Paragon. This is a 5/5, which is big. It's also an artifact. It has no throat for go for the throat. Whenever you cast a spell that's exactly 2 colors, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a card that's exactly 2 colors from among them and put it in your hand. Rest go on the bottom. Unlikely to be doing a ton here, honestly. Like, how many 2-color cards are in your deck? How many are you going to cast? Are you going to hit it? Yada, yada, yada. But realistically, 5 mana for a Vindicate that has the ability to turn into a 5/5 is kind of cool. And there are plenty of multicolored cards in the set, Blood Tithe Harvester and so on and so forth. Or in Standard, I mean. So, not bad. Certainly reasonable. And that's it. That's all the battles. A lot of battles. Almost an hour worth of battles, but here we are. Once again, our best in show was Defiant Thundermaw and the Invasion of Tarkir. Our sleeper card is Invasion of Chiron, I believe it was. Maybe. I don't remember, actually, but the one that makes this one. And then our trap card is Invasion of... Shit. So many. Invasion of Alara. Got it. Which I think is trap card. So, holy shit. That's a lot. Let me know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe. In the comments, what do you think? This is probably been the most challenging segment of any set review I've ever done, honestly, because it's trying to take in this whole new thing, and there's 2 sides to every card. Oh boy, here we go. We got one left though. One section left, the Legends, Multiverse Legends sheet, which is very, very important for limited. So we'll get there in just a little bit. But you folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Holy moly.